Tactical shooting competitions have been popular for a long time globally. And in Europe, you'll find handguns like the CZ Tactical Sports dominating the competition circuit. And they are even popular here in the United States, but you'll find other guns being used more commonly in the United States. This is definitely a European product, but it's done pretty darn well in the United States as well. But this gun is an all-steel construction handgun. It's very heavy, has a super light trigger pull, less than 2 pounds, great sights, great ergonomics, flared mag well, holds 20 rounds in the magazine, and this is kind of the standard when it comes to tactical shooting and sport shooting globally. The CZ75 in this configuration, I would say, is the standard. So nowadays, we have other products coming to market, and I just wanted to bring this out because it's an honorable mention. The CZ is a hammer-fired pistol. It's a single-action hammer-fired pistol. The Rex Alpha came out to compete in the European market and the US market for the same space, and it's a double-action, single-action pistol. It has a longer barrel, has improved ergonomics, it does have double-action, single-action, manual safety, and is relatively affordable as competition guns go. Now, the thing that the Alpha and the CZ lack are slide cuts for red dot sights. What I wanted to talk to you guys about today are a couple of new handguns on the US market. One of them is the Q5 Match steel-framed PPQ from Walther. This one is my friend Dave's. You've seen him here on the channel before. He's from Copper Custom. He bought this. He's been waiting to pick one of these up. He bought this handgun because he likes it for very specific reasons, which we'll get into later in the video, reasons that make me dislike the handgun. But this is a steel frame, very heavy handgun, and again is designed for that competition market. This one is cut for a red dot sight and pretty much out of the box is ready to go if you want to get into a competition. Another handgun that I have on hand is the X5 Legion. This thing is really cool. Now, these other handguns have heavy frames. This has a heavy frame as well. Even though it looks like polymer, this is tungsten infused polymer. This X5 is extremely heavy and it has good ergonomics, has the magazine chute. This one holds 17 rounds. This one holds 15 or 12 rounds. This one only has 15 round magazines because he doesn't have the 2-round extensions for it. This one holds 17 rounds, the Alpha, and then the CZ holds a whopping 20 rounds in a standard magazine that flush fits in the gun. But this Sig is really kind of cool. I wanted to talk about it today as well because of that tungsten infused polymer. Nobody can really figure out why Sig did it, but this is one of the things I like about Sig. Everybody thinks I hate them, but I don't. They're innovative. And this definitely has the heft of a steel-framed handgun, but it's not steel. It still has a polymer feel to it, but it's very heavy. And it's also cut for a red dot sight. It comes in the box with multiple different springs, or I shouldn't say multiple different springs. It comes with different springs, so you can adjust the gun to your shooting style or ammunition. I didn't find any springs in the Q5's box. So anyway, we're going to talk about these handguns a little bit this afternoon, and we're going to kind of focus on these two because these are the two new guys on the block. Beretta does have the 92X coming to the US market. I did have a chance to see that in Germany. Did not get a chance to shoot it, but I handled it. You know, it's a steel frame 92 that's meant, again, for the same market that these handguns are, and that's the competition market. So let's do a little bit of shooting and see what I think about the Q5 Match versus the X5, and then kind of how they overall stack up to the champ, in my opinion, the CZ Tactical Sports. Hopefully you guys enjoy this video. Perfection. This handgun holds 20 rounds in this magazine. Now I'm going to show you a 17-round Sig magazine from the X5 here in a minute, and it's roughly the same size. This thing holds 20 rounds and fits into the grip. Now it does have this extended mag well on it, so it's not a standard size grip, and none of these handguns are intended for concealed carry. But this handgun has a very low bore axis. You'll notice how low it sets and how deep it sets in my hand. I can get a nice deep grip on the gun, and it has a manual safety, which you can easily get to on either side of the gun. Has a really huge, absolutely monstrous mag release and has a hair trigger on it. This gun always surprises you when it goes off. It also has really aggressive texturing on the front and back strap of the gun. But this is just an amazing handgun to shoot. I mean, wow. If you're a competitor, you're going to want a handgun like this. It's heavy, the recoil impulse in 9mm is completely muted. It has a great sight picture, feels really good in the hand. The magazine's drop free. It's easy to get the gun back up and loaded again. It's just a very, very well thought out handgun, which is why it dominates in the competition circuit over in Europe. All right, so let's take a look at some of the other handguns we brought out this afternoon and see how they stack up to what I think is the best one of the bunch. This is the Sig 17 round magazine. If you look at the base plate, it's very aggressively textured, and you can tell it's designed for competition use. Holds 17 rounds. Here it is next to the 20 round magazine of the CZ. That just gives you an idea of the magazines and how they compare between the two. Again, you have a really big magazine funnel. The magazine release isn't as nearly as aggressive as it is on the CZ, but you have a big, huge mag funnel there, which facilitates very easy loading of the pistol. And you have controls right where you would expect them to drop the slide. It is a striker-fired handgun, has a fiber optic front sight, and the gun sets nice and low in the hand. I don't think it fits as low as the CZ, but it has a very similar sight picture, and it feels really, really good in the hand. And I really do like this tungsten-infused polymer. I like how it feels, I like how it balances, and overall, how this gun shoots. But the trigger is nothing like the CZ. The CZ still dominates with its trigger. Again, very flat shooting, mag drops right out, another mag goes in. Very, very good shooting handgun. You know, the other thing that's interesting about this is it can be had for less than $1,000. I think full retail is like $950. So it can be had for less than $1,000. Comes with 3 magazines, comes with an extra spring, so you can tune the gun. It's optics ready. It's probably the best value on the market if you're looking for a competitive type handgun, and it shoots really, really nice. Now let's take a look at the Walther, which I'm comparing to this handgun. This is the new Walther Q5 Match SF, and as you can see, the slide is cut with a bunch of openings in it. You'll see that on top of the Sig X5. It's common for these lightning cuts. They look good, they look sharp, they're practical for those people that like to run the guns by pinching the front of the slide. Reduces the weight of the slide itself, but this one has a steel frame, increasing the mass of the frame, which is intended to reduce the recoil impulse. Now, if you ask me, taking a look at this little Walther Q5, you'll notice it has a standard sized PPQ grip frame here, and then you have this 5-inch barrel, and it just looks top heavy. And all that steel, it's nose heavy to me. It doesn't feel as good as the Sig, certainly doesn't feel as good as the CZ, and I would say it feels better. I would say that the Rex Alpha feels and balances better and shoots better than this particular handgun does. Now, I let Jason shoot the guns as well. I shared my thoughts with him, said, you know, tell me what you think, and he came to the same conclusions.
I agree with you on every bit.
So now I'm going to go ahead and load the first of 15 rounds into the gun. It's using a standard 15-round PPQ magazine. Again, you can get it with 2-round extended base plates, and you can also get a different model that has an extended magazine flared well bottom, so you don't just have a standard PPQ size grip. You'll have a larger grip frame, much like you would see on the Sig or on the CZ. So the controls on this thing are just like the PPQ. The only real difference is it has a different trigger and has a different frame. And how it shoots, and it has a good sight picture, but how it shoots, it doesn't really feel like it has much less of a recoil impulse than a standard PPQ. The other handguns we brought out this afternoon shoot more smoothly. Now, you probably can't see it in video. This is something you have to feel. But Jason and I agree that this gun has a more brisk recoil impulse than the other handguns. It also has about a 5-pound trigger pull. So this thing in the SF configuration, which isn't the highest level, is right around 1,100 bucks, I think. Comes with 3 magazines. We didn't see an extra spring in the box. It is optics cut, but it's more expensive than the Sig, but it comes with fewer things in the box, like the Sig has an additional recoil spring, for example, and I think the Sig shoots better. So really, while it's an okay gun, I'm not that impressed with the Q5 Match as compared to the other guns out there that I brought out this afternoon. So we'll rank them before we end the video, which one we know is number 1, which I've already said is the CZ, and where we think this one falls on the scale of those handguns. Let's shoot the Rex Alpha here really quick and share some thoughts with you guys. The gun's been on the market for a few years. I think it's coming up on 2 years. I lose track of time, but it's definitely in the same league, although it is hammer fired versus striker fired. The Rex has just regular adjustable sights on it, has a fiber optic front sight like the other guns, offers a really nice sight picture. The rear sight, like the other guns, is serrated, so it has a nice flat black rear blade, and then you have a really bright day glow front sight, and it has similar controls to the other handguns, where the striker fired gun like the Sig, for example, does not have a manual safety. The PPQ does not have a manual safety. I want to make sure, yeah, does not have a manual safety. They didn't add one to it. But this one's double action and single action. The downside to this pistol, does hold 17 rounds, is that it does not have an optics cut. So you're not going to put a red dot sight on it unless you send it out for custom work. Now, 17 rounds, you would carry it probably in competition cocked and locked with the big safety up, so it's really easy to hit, and then start shooting the pistol. Again, this is a heavy gun, has the same lightning cuts in the front, and it just shoots really, really nice. And the ergonomics on this handgun are better than the original Rex Zero pistol that came before it. They've reduced the grip size and made it more ergonomic. It feels more CZ-ish, but not as good as the CZ in terms of ergonomics. The bore axis is a little bit higher, but that doesn't really translate into a whole bunch of extra muzzle rise. So, mag's drop free, has a nice big magazine release on it, and the controls are easy to get to. Yeah. Again, this is a good option for somebody that's looking for something a little bit different, that may not want the Sig or want something else. I've never had a problem with any of the Rex handguns. Matter of fact, this is a handgun that kicked off the whole Gauntlet series and blew us all away with its reliability. Not this particular model, not the Alpha, but the original Rex 01. The Q5 Match. It's expensive. It's well made. It's made in Germany. You can see it has the DE right there on the slide. And yeah, it feels good, but not as good as the other handguns in my opinion. Now the reason Dave likes this handgun, he has much smaller hands than I have. And to him, with his small hands, this gun feels the best. He's always liked the PPQ. And the PPQ historically has had a very good trigger and always has had good ergonomics. Now, when we measured the trigger pull weight on this handgun, I was rather surprised that it's not much better than a standard PPQ trigger in terms of how it feels, how heavy it is. It's creep, creep, click. I actually would think that my older PPQ has as good or better trigger in it. So even though it's bright blue and it's supposed to be some different type of trigger, I don't feel it. I don't feel it in the handgun at all. Now, as I pointed out earlier, the grip is relatively small by comparison to the gun itself. It's longer barrel and you know, steel frame. So to me, the gun feels nose heavy. And even with the additional weight, I don't really feel like it's reducing the recoil of the 9mm as much as its competitor. The Sig has a better trigger. It feels better, has that flat face trigger. That's a personal preference. This one still has the inertial safety on it, what I like to call the dingus, and it still has that defensive trigger feel. This has a more competition trigger feel, much like the CZ, which has a flat face trigger in it as well. The ergonomics are just as good in my opinion. The gun sets nice and deep in my hand. I think it sets deeper than the Walther does. But again, that's a personal preference thing and everybody's going to have a different opinion. But you can see it has the lightning cuts on top as well. This rear sight is micro adjustable just like it is on the Q5 Match, and both of the guns have the ability to accept red dot sights. They have fiber optic front sights. So they're very, very competitively featured, I should say. The biggest difference is price. The Sig definitely has the price advantage. I also think the Sig has the advantage when it comes to ergonomics and shootability. I think this gun shoots flatter. I think it just feels better. And if I was going to pick between the two, I would definitely pick the Sig. This X5 is an amazing shooting handgun. It really, really shoots good. So, you know, you have 17 rounds here. You can get 17 rounds in this if you use the extra 2-round extended base plates. But you're talking about significantly more money for the Walther. I don't think the ergonomics are as good. I think the gun is nose heavy. I think the grip's too small for the gun. And it just shoots okay, where the Sig impresses me far more. So now let's talk about how all these guns compare to each other and how I would rank them in terms of the best to the worst, what I would spend my money on to what I probably wouldn't spend my money on. Today we've been shooting Federal 9mm. This is 130 grain Syntech ammo, and this ammunition is for PCCs or pistol caliber carbines, so it's a little bit warmer, and it's a really cool ammunition to try out. It's range type ammunition. The guys at Federal do supply this to us free of charge, and we'd like to thank them for supporting us here at the Military Arms Channel. That's our highest recurring cost, is buying ammunition. And some ammunition we do have to buy, some of those oddball military calibers. But all the 9mm and 5.56, 308, 45 that we use here on the channel comes from Federal, and that's a big help. So here we have the guns laying out in front of me, and I'm going to pull them out one at a time. I'm going to go from my top pick to my last pick in terms of which one of these I would buy if I had to pick one of these four. I've already let the cat out of the bag with the CZ. The Tactical Sport, this thing, in my opinion, is the gold standard for this type of handgun, a competition type handgun. The ergonomics are spot on. The recoil impulse is very muted. It has less than a 2-pound trigger pull. Everything is just right about it. This gun is well designed, well evolved. The only thing it lacks is a cut for a red dot sight. Now that's going to be an issue for some folks. That's going to take some custom work. You're going to have to send it out to CZ Customs or someplace like that to have that slide work done. But that's my number one. My number two is going to surprise you. The Sig. I really like the way the gun shoots. I like the way the gun handles. I like how flat it shoots. I think the tungsten infused polymer is ingenious. I don't know what benefit it really has. It has the weight of a steel frame, but it has the feel of a polymer frame. It's now available separately, so you don't have to buy this particular pistol to get it. And it is a modular trigger system that's in the gun. All that's retained in this handgun. But it has a great trigger, has great ergonomics. It's reliable, soft shooting, comes with everything you need in the box to take it right out except the holster and go out and start shooting a competition. It's also cut for an optic. This is my second pick, and it's less than $900 if you can find the right dealer. Third, the Alpha. This little handgun is really cool. It is a double action, single action. It has, again, all the features you would expect in a European style competition type handgun or even US style. You do have that double action for the first shot. You don't have to carry it cocked and locked, but I think most people would prefer to have the same trigger pull, but you have that option. So it's a full featured handgun, great ergonomics, big mag release, It has everything, checks all the boxes, except for the fact that it does not have a red dot sight cut. Again, you'd have to send it out for custom work, which is going to increase the cost of the gun. That leaves the Q5 Match is my last choice. I personally wouldn't buy one. I don't really see the value in the handgun. I think it's overpriced, and I think it's awkwardly balanced, and I just don't care for it. I love the PPQ. I think the PPQ is one of the best defensive handguns out there. I think it has one of the best triggers. I love the polymer frame. It shoots great. But when you switch over and try to turn it into a competition gun, I don't think Walther did that great of a job. I think the other guns do a better job. So now let the flames begin, because I know a lot of folks out there are going to disagree with me. But guys, that's just it. My opinion. It's exactly what it's worth in terms of what you paid for it. To our Patreons, thanks a bunch. They do actually pay for our opinions. But, you know, this is just what I think. Now, I confirmed my findings with Jason. He shot the guns, and he agrees exactly the order in which he would place these handguns. Guys, if you would like to support us here at the Military Arms channel so we can continue to bring you unbiased as humanly possible information like this, consider becoming a Patreon supporter. The link is down below. We are viewer supported. Walther doesn't pay us, Sig doesn't pay us, CZ doesn't pay us, and Rex doesn't pay us. We are supported by our Patreons. Link down below. Also, swing by and check out Copper Custom. And last but not least, we are Twitch gamers. There is a link down below. If you're a Patreon supporter, click the link down below. Follow us on Twitch. Send us a note. Let us know what your Twitch name is on Patreon. We'll add you as a friend, and you can join us in a live stream on the PSN network. Guys, thanks for 11 years of support, and we'll talk to you soon. I hate to say it, but every one of these guns shoots better than that Walther.